Well, everyone's up for the FA Cup this weekend. It's a sellout. How much are you looking forward to the occasion? But also, there's a job to be done. You want to try and win the match.
Yeah, looking forward to hopefully repeating the atmosphere we had, obviously, in the home leg against West Ham. And obviously doing everything we can to achieve that level of performance again. So yeah, it's obviously an exciting moment for the club, for the lads, and yeah, we're best prepared and ready to go.
Presumably you get confidence from the performance and the result against West Ham in the previous round.
Yeah, you have to. I think you take the belief, like you said, the confidence. Not necessarily confidence in the result, but the confidence in our performance level. Because across the two legs against West Ham, I thought we hit a really high level and merited the outcome of progressing. So I think that's what you have to take the confidence from: the way we work, the preparation, the ability to focus for such long periods, and the bravery to go and take the game to them a little bit. I think that was what impressed me most from the lads in the second leg.
You sold out on Saturday. You haven't had a lot of time on the training ground with the players in recent weeks, and of course this is a Friday night. It's not been the best weather. What have preparations been like this week?
Yeah, we obviously had the additional replay match, so I think we had a heavy period, and next week after Friday we've again got another heavy period with the Friday, Tuesday, Friday. So we gave the lads Sunday, Monday off, and then trained Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yesterday it was extremely wet and windy up here. But we managed to get some decent work into the guys, and then again today, slightly better conditions. But we've had the opportunity to sort of get some real solid work, which we've not been able to do a huge amount. So hopefully we see the benefits of that Friday. And
in terms of team news, how's the squad looking going into Friday's match?
Yeah, obviously a couple of forced changes that will have to happen. With Twiney obviously being cup tied and Joe being suspended. So apart from that, with clean bill of health, everybody seems in a good spot. All good.
You're going to miss Joe, aren't you? How impressed are you with his form since coming to the club? Of course, he's one of the players whose contract's up in the summer. How impressed have you been with him?
Joe's been great. Been really pleased with him. I think not just his recent performances on the pitch, but even when he wasn't playing, what he brings in terms of a bit of bite to the group, his level in training, how he applied himself when he wasn't in the team was excellent. And obviously his performance level speaks for itself since he's been in the team. So I've been delighted with Joe. He's been massive. But at the same point, I think I have to. What I don't want to do is overlook the impact that Tails and JMO have had as well. And I think what we've done a good job of at times is kind of Tails has stayed in the team when he's had a good run of form, and obviously we've then changed it. JMO's been in and had a good run of form, and we've run games and we've changed it. And again, I think that what we need in the squad and what's important is that healthy competition. And that when people get the opportunity or when people are called upon, that they can sustain the level that the guys have shown.
And I don't know if it was an easy decision to put Scott straight into the starting lineup last week. Of course, he scored, justified, but he won't play on Friday, so it's an opportunity for someone to take his place and impress.
Yeah, and I think you need that in a successful squad. I think you need that competition. So I sat with Anis. Obviously, Anis came out, but Anis had done well. Went with Twiney at the weekend. It felt right, but obviously. Got his goal and caused a real problem for them, I thought, on set pieces. And obviously, I'm sure Anis is going to be an important part, and we'll get another opportunity. And then it's then on Anis to come in and deliver. I think step up and have impact. And he's shown he can do that. And that's what competition does. It hopefully it drags each other's level higher and higher.
Nottingham Forest, their priority is the Premier League. What are you expecting from them on Friday night? Blackpool gave them 2 tough games, didn't they, in the last round?
Yeah, we've watched a fair bit of them. I think, completely different to what we faced against West Ham. I think, when you look at, they've got some real physicality, some real pace in the side. I think when you look at it, obviously well organised as you'd expect from any Premier League side. But again, I think that physicality that they can bring in terms of whether it be direct or whether it be getting the ball wide and getting at you, I think they carry some real threats. And again, I think in terms of us, we're going to have to be at our maximum level in order to to compete and to get the outcome we want.
Yeah, Chris Wood had a very brief but influential loan spell at Bristol City once upon a time. What kind of physicality does he bring to Nottingham Forest if he plays?
Yeah, I think he's in terms of he's not just a target man. I think he's a lot more than that. If you look at it in terms of you can play into him and he can hold it up and bring others into play with quality, and then the threat he carries in and around the box, obviously especially aerially, he's obviously had an extremely high level career and someone that brings a threat. So we have to make sure that we deal with him as we do their other key players.
West Ham was one of the, if not the highlights of the season, to beat Nottingham Forest on Friday. What could that do for your season and FA Cup run, beating a second Premier League side?
Obviously, bring another game. I think of course, it will give a buzz to everybody. I'm extremely clear. I know that the energy off the back of the West Ham game was incredible, but again, it's very much game for me. People get bored of me saying it, I think, but it is. The second we finish that, we then have another game on Tuesday, so we can't think too far ahead of that, really. So, of course, I want people to enjoy moments, the special moments, things that people remember, things that I'll remember. But I think, go in, give everything we can on Friday, commit everything to, trying to get the outcome we want, and we'll assess after.
And the FA Cup seems to suit Tommy Conway. How key is he on Friday night? The big matches really seem to bring out the best in him.
Yeah, Tommy's in a decent, run of form, to be fair, even at the weekend. If you look at Twiney's goal, it's again him pressing and obviously putting the centre back under pressure, regaining it, and obviously having the shot that Twiney scores off. So again, I think I spoke about him recently a few times. He's obviously in a good spot. We have to keep him there. He has to stay there. He's still got a lot of growth, a lot of areas for me to improve. But he's really grown in the defensive side of his game. But also you look at his link-up play. For me, he's a little bit cleaner. He's in. His movement, the timing of it's good. So again, I think he's in a good spot, and we have to keep him there.
Speaking on a Wednesday lunchtime, you made a signing this week for the future. Is there any prospect of any further recruitment, if not for Friday, before the end of the window?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not close with anyone. I keep saying that most times we meet, right? But we're not massively close with anyone at the moment. We're still working hard to try and do something, but again, I think it's like I say, nothing's imminent.
If the signing weren't to happen, are you happy with the squad that you've got?
Yeah, I think that we said it probably about 6-8 weeks ago, didn't we? When we get people back fit, they'll feel a little bit like new signings. Ross coming back, he's come in and had terrific impact. Naki's come back and forced Tommy to raise his level, and I thought Naki, when he came in against West Ham, was excellent for 30 minutes. So again, we've got those. I definitely think in terms of where the squad's at, we've got healthy competition. We've got decent depth. Look at the bench at the weekend and the changes we could make. I thought we had real good depth. But ideally, we'd try to add another one. But again, I think I've always said it from day one. It's about adding the right one.
Yeah. How's Rob getting on? I think he's back on the grass. How close is he to a return?
Yeah, he's not a million miles away, to be fair. So he's in the next couple of weeks he'll be available for selection. So it's now, because of obviously the period of time he missed, it's just building up that chronic load that they call it. I think it's just getting volume into him now, so he can do a huge amount of work, and then he'll be available in the next couple of weeks.
And forgive me, but with MK Dons and Oxford, is this the furthest you've reached as a coach in the FA Cup? And how much are you enjoying a little bit of FA Cup fever at Ashton Gate?
Yeah, no, it is, and the last round was special. I think not only for me and my time here, but obviously against West Ham as well. So it's something that will always live with me, and hopefully we can go one better Friday.
Thank you.
Appreciate you can't necessarily see into the future, but are you anticipating this could go to deadline day then, in terms of getting someone in?
Possible, yeah. Possible. I think it's such a tough market, January. It's so many moving pieces, so many deals are dependent on other deals happening, mainly due to there's no free agents, so sometimes free agents cause the knock-on effect, whereas, when you're more dependent on clubs letting people out, or, do you know what I mean, there's more people involved in the change, so again, I think that brings different, time constraints, so it could do, ultimately, yeah.
Would you be able, because you talk about the strength of the squad and you'd like to add one more, what sort of attributes would that one have, ideally?
It's a tough one, because there's ideal what you'd like, and then also there's the best of what you can get. So again, I think I've been quite clear. I've had some really good chats with Brian and Sean on that, of what I ideally like and what's available in the market. Don't always line up. So again, I think for me, I still think we need to happy with what we got attacking wise. But again, I think in terms of having an extra player that can have impact in that area of the pitch would only complement what we've got already and support us. So again, I think it's there, and then it's a case of ultimately who's the best one that we can get to do that.
I'm going to, a little bit hypothetical, and it may be a ridiculous question, but obviously you've got players or types that you're looking at, but such is the way the market works, there could be someone that comes from completely left field that you haven't been tracking, haven't necessarily been looking at, but is of a tempting prospect. Is that something you would go for, or are you kind of set with what you've got, and if that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen?
I'm quite flexible and adaptable. I think when you look at it, we've made certain tweaks already in terms of we can make tweaks to the team. I don't think we're that rigid where I think we can play wide players wide, or we can play fullbacks wide and bring people inside the pitch. So I do think with how we work, we can be quite flexible and adaptable. I think it's our job then to get people in positions to bring their strengths. So hence you see Twiney at the weekend coming inside the pitch, whereas when we've played before, or say Ross was giving us the width at the weekend before, we had Sykesy out there who's more of a winger than Ross. So again, I think for me, that's why I think especially this time, I think there's a real strength in being flexible and adaptable. And if something comes left field that we think is going to improve what we've got already, then we'll be open to most things.
Josh Stokes, did you work with him at Ipswich in any capacity?
Yeah, I actually signed him as an 8-year-old, but a long time ago now.
Yeah, that's pretty mad.
It's only for a few months. It's small world. Football's a small industry, small world. So again, obviously knew of him, knew of his character. Hoggy knew him reasonably well up until about 11 or 12. So none of us have kind of stayed in touch really with him for the last sort of 7-8 years, but know him, know his family. Go back a long way. So again, in terms of it's been fascinating to obviously recently see his journey, and it's definitely someone that has got potential. To score the goals he has at National League at the age he's at is quite rare. So again, I think we're really pleased to like Adam Murphy, have someone come in that we think is going to push and help us for the hopefully the short, medium, and long term.
I appreciate he's very young. Appreciate it's a fairly long time ago. But was there? Did he stand out in any capacity when you were kind of working with that age group, or was he?
Yeah, it's tough. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. It was under 8, under 9, I think, and then I moved up, and I think Hoggy then worked with him. I think you speak with Hoggy, probably worked more with him than I did, but I think Hoggy, I said, stopped working with him at 11 or 12, and even now, Hoggy, the one thing that Hoggy remembers is just his tenacity and his character, which again, I think for the culture we want, for what we expect, someone that's honest, that's hard working, that's desperate to improve, really driven. He ticks all those boxes, so that gives him a chance of learning and progressing. So they're the bits that Hoggy probably more than me remembers about him, and that he's going to need in terms of when he comes in.
You touched on him there. We were talking about the sort of makeup of the team. Is Mark Sykes in contention to come back on Friday?
No.
He's okay. So is that because he was having the scans last week? So is that?
Yeah, it's okay. He's got another like a final stage one Thursday tomorrow, and then once that's cleared, then it can really be ramped up his work there. And then, like I said, he's probably 2 weeks away as well.
Okay. Is there any update on Cal at all?
No, he's actually back out on the grass this week, but he's obviously a little bit further behind the lads, so it's a lot more controlled, the work he's doing outside. So, and again, a little bit with Cal, it's hard to put time frames on it, purely from the fact that you have to see how he responds and reacts, because he's still in the early stages.
We're going to hear from Taylor in a bit. His deal was obviously brought forward in terms of making him a full-time Bristol City player. He always considered himself that, obviously. But I just wondered, kind of, I get the kind of financials all aligned with Andy moving on as well. But what kind was there a drive from you as well to get that done, or were you kind of happy to wait till the summer? Like, how did it come about in that regard?
Yeah, it was a collective. It was something that obviously we were in dialogue with West Brom about certain bits, and it was I think in terms of certain aspects of the deal, but also I think in terms of when you've got someone that's in your team and performing like Tails has been, and you get to know them extremely well. Kind of why wait when it fits everybody ultimately. So I've been really pleased with Tails. I think in terms of he's still got a lot more to come, a lot of development left. But at the same point, he's having impact in the short term now. So really, really pleased that we could get that done, and he's someone I look forward to working with for longer.
How do you kind of see him as a midfield player? Because he's played deeper. He was one of the 210s, wasn't he? Yeah. So I mean, you can probably say both, but
Good cop out.
Yeah. How do you kind of see him as a midfielder, in terms of profiling him?
Yeah, I think he's able to. He's obviously shown he can play both roles, which is it's good for us in terms of it gives us another option. But I also think it's probably they're more looking at his qualities and his strength. I think he's quite clear his main bits are his bravery to take the ball and the quality he's got on the ball. So again, I think that whether he does it low or high, or eventually, I think when we can do more work on the grass, how do we release our deeper midfielders to join in slightly higher bits that we can look to do? And he obviously fits the quality where I think he's someone that should be chipping in 4 or 5 goals per season. Which I think he's only that in his career to date. So sort of excites me in that the work that we can do with him is someone that I expect that, over time to have greater impact in the final third.
Because there was the chance at Preston where it was Joe on the tackle, wasn't it? He burst through and he could have played it to Tommy, but he went himself. That's obviously, I appreciate, obviously, with hindsight, maybe you think he could have played it to Tommy because better fish and all that. But the fact he did that shows a certain goal-scoring desire and instinct that he's got within him then.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to the Middlesbrough goal, I think to other games where, he's had numerous shots from the edge of the box. There was a game at home, it wasn't that long ago, where he comes in his right side, forces a save. I think he's got that where he can join and he can obviously drive forward with the ball. So again, when I look at it in terms of I wouldn't see him pigeonhole him as a defensive midfielder. He's actually someone that can play deeper and link play, but then also join in high up the pitch. So, yeah, thanks for bringing up Preston again.
Yeah, sorry. I'll pivot to a positive. Cam Pring's been very good. He certainly stood out as an individual on the pitch, obviously playing within the team framework as well, on both sides of the ball. Have you done any specific work with him at all?
No, do you know what? He's actually one we've left a little bit, to be fair. I think in terms of he's actually, I thought he was excellent at the weekend, to be fair. I thought it was probably the best he's played since we've been here. I thought in terms of, both ends of the pitch, how he pressed, you really saw his physical attributes there and, the duels that he had. But I also thought he was cleaner with the ball, which again, I think something that he's done well, but we also need to work at in terms of the basics especially. Defends the back post really well. Was definitely one. I jumped back to the West Ham game. There was a couple where he's arrived and cleared it. And I think he's one that we've kind of left a little bit to kind of, feel it and see how he deals with the changes, in game and the systems. And there's little bits on the grass, obviously, and little chats, but we haven't rammed, loads of information down his throat.
He's good in the air because the sort of the diagonal out to that side of the pitch, is that deliberate in terms of looking for him in the air, which the goal came from? I don't know if that was premeditated from Max to pick him out. But that seems to be a tactical ploy of sorts, which is credit to him because there's not too many left backs that you kind of look airily for.
Yeah, and we can do it the other side with Ross. That's the advantage, I think, of them too. Even away at West Ham, if you remember, there was a couple where he's gone and dominated airily.
And he left him on the deck.
Yeah. So it's definitely something we've spoken about. It's definitely something that we've been through. We've animated in terms of it gives you a terrific out. So rather than having a winger high and wide, having him as an outlet that, you can release onto is, a real big thing. And there was one at the second half as well at the weekend where we hit Ross and he's flicked it in night, he gets in down the side. So it's really good out balls is being able to play those if needed.
And in terms of Cam, kind of what next? Where would you kind of like to see improvement from him?
I think top third for me. I think that in terms of, is whether it be the decision or whether it be the execution of the cross, I think he gets, into some great areas. And then it's that final bit whether, if there's no one in the box or there's one arriving, then maybe, hook out and start again or continue dribbling. Or if, if they're in there, then the quality to pick them out. Because again, I think he does tremendously well against some fantastic areas. And then it's, get the rewards at the end of it.